So baseball today, right now, is going through a lot of issues. For example, data, it's like the new and the old. A lot of issues becoming where the game's going to change, maybe robotic umpires. And right now, I'm in my future going to be involved in sport business. I'm trying to be like in the front office or like baseball operations and maybe like in the scouting. And this video, or this is a video, but I took a picture of Troy Tulowitzki, and this is him using VR technology 2 years ago. And now they get replicate pitchers who are throwing 95 miles per hour fastball while he has goggles on, and it's becoming more realistic. Now, for my job, I want to be as a scout. I don't know, it's going to impact me to where they're going to be using this more technology, and why will people have to go to games when people could be scouting more than this? There will be scouts, but we'll just limit the number of scouts. So I'm going to talk about virtual reality. My name is Tanner Tenori, and virtual reality is going to be an issue. It's not ready yet for human society. The new technological advancement is a way for humans to visualize, manipulate, and there's going to be computers and extremely complex data that's going to affect that. Although virtual reality is going to help businesses reduce costs, and also with other stuff like that, it's going to be to the point where human life is not ready for that. It's going to pull away the world, and it's going to gravitate to a more virtual world. Virtual and augmented reality are both emerging technologies that are emerging technologies that are both kind of different. Virtual reality are, for example, you are in a virtual world, whereas augmented reality, you're in the real life world, but there's technology that helps you. For example, in the movie Iron Man, Tony Stark is using augmented reality, where he has holograms or devices that are improving his way of life. The main point of the paper suggests that humanity is not ready for it. So an effect of VR and AR is known as the virtual or accommodation effect. For example, when you are using the goggles, your eyesight can be decreased. The optometry professor, Martin Banks of Berkeley, who studies visual perception, has stated that myopia or nearsightedness is created while using VR and AR goggles. Another issue with that goes to AR physically and VR is when you're using goggles, you could also be aware of spatial awareness. You will lose it. So if you're in this example, it shows a person using VR goggles, and they're on the roller coaster, and the guy gets scared and he falls over. Now, for other examples, if you're really terrified of other VR games, say for if they do Resident Evil, that's a very scary game, and if you're going to be playing that in real life, that can easily scare you. So you have to know where your surroundings are. Another issue with VR physically that has become more an issue that there's not really a cure for is nauseous and people puking and becoming sick. The goggles tend to make your eyes more as it decreases your fusion accuracy, it makes your eyes more little headache and just a little nauseous. So people have to take breaks while using VR. So VR gaming is on the rise today in sports. So just gaming in general is making a lot of money for sports, and that's going to affect sport business and where I want to maybe go into if baseball's not an option. So VR competitive gaming, though, that's going to be something that's going to be brought up soon. It's not exactly something yet. Right now, just gaming in general is becoming more competitive, and a lot of money, just like Fortnite, just becoming way more popular, and it's becoming bigger than other sports. So for this, though, a game I'm going to talk about that just has a lot of issues is GTA. So people who play GTA, it's not a VR game yet, but it has, when you're going around killing people and doing vile things, that's going to be something to where when people are starting to act is that in virtual games, it's going to be issues. CGI is becoming really big in movies, and you just show in gaming, content's becoming better, graphics are becoming better. So as people start, video game characters tend to become more real and CGI improves, it's going to be to the point where people in games could be people that you might know or other softwares while they're using virtuality. And I think that's going to have an effect on people's mind. No one knows exactly what could happen, but when you're in the virtual world more than the real world, that's going to cause issues. It's going to cause also withdrawal. people who have like PTSD who come back from traumatic experiences, that could help their cause for like virtual reality. Virtual reality could help them, but people who are just living normal lives using this could also there's a lot of implications to that. To add to a keyboard and like controller don't have the same effect on your mind when doing these activities compared to VR gaming. I mean, everyone plays like Xbox, PlayStation, or PC, but no one knows like when you're using this and doing more like real things that it's what it causes on your brain. Another thing about it is like addictiveness. Gaming, like according to Polygon, video gaming are like it causes this is a streamer, it like rage happens while video gaming. There's according to the Center of Educational Neuroscience, violent video games can lead to social aggression of participating. So people who are playing that are more likely to be pissed off like at their family or friends after video gaming. And addictiveness is also just something that's popular in video games because our video games are designed to, some of them are designed to be more addicting and fun, which causes it to be more fun. Virtual reality also could lead to moral issues. So for example, if you are playing GTA or you're like playing with a friend and you are in the actual game, if you're like person's depicted in it and like your friends depicted in it and you're playing and you like shoot them, I think that could have an issue on your like moral compass or just how you perceive the world. If you are if you are going to be in the real world more than the fake or virtual world, or the virtual world more than the real world, that's what it kind of like determine like what's really real or not, or like what it's just going to have a lot of impacts on your brain. Another issue is like another issue. So how many people are supposed to be using VR in the United States in 2019? According to eMarketer, there's supposed to be like 49 million. There's going to be, they expect 9.6 VR users a year to be using this, or a month, and they're expecting for like a year for AR. Accordingly, are 40 million a month. And for AR, social isolation is already happening in 2019. As we talked about other transhumanistic technologies, another like AI is becoming, our society is becoming like kind of more lazy now. People don't need to be meeting face to face now. Everyone's FaceTiming, more on the phone. Just for video gaming in general, people could like use that social talking. I mean, if you're playing with your friends back at home, if you're from out of state, people are using that. But for businesses, they could cut costs with using VR. I mean, you don't have to be in meetings at all times. You can be at your house and you'll be either, I mean, people do it like FaceTime and do that, but they could also do it to where you're in like their own meeting room talking about that. So like addiction withdrawal, so for people who like have the addiction issues, like that's going to be kind of an issue to where if life is outside the virtual world, what's going to be like. So if you're in the virtual world and that's like the best time, then you don't want to leave it. So I mean, when you're in the virtual world more, that's just going to cause more issues for yourself, not being able to talk to humans, and that's going to cause more like mental health. Another issue is also, it's kind of like not been talked about, but I mean, if people are using VR like while like intoxicated or drugs, I think that could also lead to just issues that no one has like thought of, like what could affect on your brain if you're thinking what you're doing while using VR. It could screw with your mind a lot. So with social isolation, with all like AI, VR, I think it's just becoming to where it's just causing more issues, just for like isolation, talking to people also makes people just more lazy in general. People don't have to like, as years go by, I think people don't have to leave their houses more. There's more technology to where you don't need to leave your houses more. And I think like in the movie WALL-E, it's just called limited activity. So another topic about, I mean, that could also, besides isolation or social isolation, and that, so like on the opposite side, in reverse, I think virtual and augmented reality could also be okay. As we talked about, the games, people will be, or the military will be using video game or VR technology to help train soldiers. I think there's also an opposite to that. If video games and these games are presenting real life situations, people could also use that in bad and like dangerous ways. People could be training to do other stuff that I think, or that could also cause issues in society. And also another for like in education. I think virtual field trips will be something that's going to be helping, according to Nearpod, 6 million students in the U.S. and beyond experience lessons from virtual reality. And this is something that's kind of really cool. People can see where they want to go, maybe like travel just from using VR. And then the picture I showed in the first slide, this is another one just for baseball. People will be training using this also. It's not like exactly clear now, but I feel like in years to come, baseball is definitely going to be impacted out of more of the sports than the other ones. Military for or in this, and then also it's to solve this issue. I mean, right now to like help VR be ready for humankind, I feel like the government has to be like have strict rules on VR. I don't think anyone should be anyone younger than 21 maybe should not be able to have it, just because if they're going to be simulating real life killing, sexual acts or any of that on VR gaming systems, you cannot be able to. I think you cannot just buy it over the counter. Also, I think like agencies should look at that. If terrorists or any other people are using it for a bad way, for using guns, then they should just be also checking that. Because if the military get trained using that, I think a human person can also do something in that kind of way. Another part is I feel like you need, for using VR and AR, I think you need to be like timed out sessions, meaning like you cannot be just in the VR world like a couple hours, or you have to like just time out maybe after every 2 hours or one, just get back in the real world, because the more longer you are in there, the more issues are going to arise. It's just going to be to the fact that you just want to stay in the virtual world more. So another, as we talked about like in that Netflix Black Mirror episode that we showed earlier, that person was to design that software where he was able to launch his mind to a virtual world, and that represented real people too, where he worked with. He did vile things, so I mean that's why the government should look, just because a guy like that who's doing just using virtual reality for a bad way like that, I mean the other people won't be like affected like that. But for final thoughts, so there should be intermissions or timeouts, background checks for this use of technology, and then government agencies should monitor, have laws like pertaining to virtual reality gaming or simulations. So I mean, if they're seeing people like killing other people or just doing weird or bad like things, they should definitely have like a red flag on that person. So in conclusion, even though virtual reality could even help businesses like reduce cost, there's issues where it causes physical, people puking, becoming nauseous, and just it's going to have an issue on your mind.